Salutations respective viewers, I am George from Ireland. So in this video I wish to bid a fond fuck off to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. So their Royal Highnesses announced a week ago that they wish to largely abandon their royal duties, though not their royal privileges, work towards financial independence. Well, how long is that going to take? 1 year, 10 years, what? They already have financial independence. Prince Harry inherited, was it £13 million from his mother, and they get £4 million a year already. I mean, half of that from the Queen via the sovereign grant, half of that from the Prince of Wales. Goodness knows what else, so as well as many other freebies. You know, all of this tax-free, as well as living for free in Frogmore cottage provided by Her Britannic Majesty. So that is that. Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex, has been a walking catastrophe for the royal family since the day she married Prince Harry. It's not surprising that when Prince Harry began his liaison with a 30-something American divorcee, some courtiers were deeply perturbed about this. They thought it could all end in tears, and so it's proved. As Her Royal Highness herself has vouchsafed, her friends pleaded with her not to wed Prince Harry, saying that certain sections of the London press corps would monster her. And indeed, Yasmin Alabai-Brown, this left-wing journalist in the United Kingdom, she also advised Miss Markle not to wed the prince. So it didn't take long, actually. It was only about a year and a half from marrying him to them bowing out. So they're going to spend most of their time in Canada and indeed the United States. I do feel so much sorry for the much put upon Canadian taxpayer who it seems are going to be required to pick up the tab for the security for these two. So talk about entitled. I mean, literally, they've got titles as well as privy purses to make money. People saying, oh, but come on, they're going to work for a living. That's respectable. Well, they're not really. They branded Royal Sussex, so they're going to put their brand on clothes or something like that and sell these tacky socks or whatever it is. That's not actually work. They're not going to design those things or flog them themselves. They're doing the marketing. Do you really think they can be bothered with their Barney? No, they're not going to break a sweat. It's the sweat of the brow of these downtrodden Canadian taxpayers is going to be spent on providing security for this pair of clowns. Anyway, what a disgrace it was. So, you know, Prince Harry had many youthful peccadillos that the British public was willing to forgive. His cannabis smoking, his cocaine addiction, his wearing that swastika armband to the party, foreign and colonial, not a very politically correct theme, that party that he went to in 2005 and Prince William was there, or the fact that he used to go to strip bars. That's not very PC. How come Meghan's forgive him that? Isn't that not sexual exploitation? Or him using the word packy, his violent assaults against journalists outside nightclubs? That was photographed. Why wasn't he arrested? Someone from a less privileged background would be doing jail time for that, for battery on these journalists performing their duty and taking his photo, or for his possession of Class A drugs. And he got to be an army officer. Cheating in his A-levels. Obviously the secret recording revealed that his art teacher did his art coursework for him. That was the only A-level he got. How did this guy get to be an army officer? He was willing to face the Taliban, but he's not willing to brave the press corps. Now, I've got news with these two. It is a digital age. Just because they moved to Canada doesn't mean people are automatically going to stop talking about them. People can still say these things about them. But they're often their own worst enemies. So I'm afraid I have no sympathy for the Duchess of Sussex. She knew what she was getting herself in for. She signed up for that. She's obviously an attention addict. Okay, so, you know, she wanted to be the most written about woman in the world. That's what she wanted. Well, she got it. So be careful for what you wish for. Your wish may be granted. So she was always an attention addict. She got to be the cynosure of all eyes. So she ought to have been in clover. There she was as a washed-up B-list actress in her 30s, divorced. Well, her dream came true of marrying this prince. She claims to be like the princess of equality. Is there a slight contradiction in that? She claims to be against privilege. She's not. She wants privilege, literally. This royal status, this handle, Her Royal Highness, and all the money from the taxpayers, all the adulation, all the open doors, and the diplomatic passport, and blah, blah, blah. So they went on their tour of Africa in the autumn, supposedly meeting the underprivileged, and she could only feel sorry for herself. I mean, it was nauseating. They say a man goes for a woman to replace his mother. Well, so it proved in the case of His Royal Highness Prince Harry. So the Duke of Sussex didn't think about his mother, so she was looking obviously for someone sordid, tawdry, egomaniacal, materialistic, shallow. Well, he couldn't have done better. And then look who he picked. Now, there are differences, obviously. Meghan Markle's quite an intelligent person, fairly accomplished actress, things like that. And she didn't have the excuse of being a naif, like Princess Diana, who got engaged at the age of 19, who was cognitively challenged. Meghan Markle, she's got hinterland, supposedly, she's got bedrock beliefs. But then again, these are obviously achingly fashionable beliefs to have in the milieu in which she lives. Has she ever expressed an opinion that was disadvantageous to her in the social circles in which she moves? So she's clearly an arriviste. I know that actors tend to be bitchy, but a lot of people absolutely abominated her long before she became involved with the Duke of Sussex. So she had to expect this. As she said in an interview, her British friends warned her not to do it, but heedless of this advice, she charged ahead. And remember, for the first 6 months, they had wall-to-wall adulatory coverage. Okay, it's only then that it started to go wrong and the wheels came off their media campaign, them being such Pharisees, grandstanding about the environment whilst going on private jets to France. They could easily have gone on an airline, coming out with these spurious excuses about security, when that's absolute bull, when they have been on public planes sometimes, when other people like Prince William regularly takes ordinary airlines to places. They could have even gone by train. They got the time, they got the money. So it really was sick-making, them posing as caring about these things, or social justice warriors. If you really care about social justice, why don't you give your unearned income to the poor? If you really care about refugees, have them live in your house, even one, even temporarily. But oh no, their several bedroom house, they can't possibly do that. If you really care about the environment, raise your child in a 1-bedroom flat. I know a lot of people who've done that. Okay, live modestly, you'll have less of an impact on the environment. So Meghan Markle, she wants the glitter, she wants the kudos, but you got to take the rough with the smooth, okay? You chose to do this, you put your head above the parapet, and you're just overly opinionated. You just couldn't shut your trap. Take a leaf out of Kate Middleton's book. Now, Her Royal Highness Princess Kate, I call her Princess Vapidity Clothes Horse. Right? Vacuity is a distinct advantage in this game. A woman who's thought-free, all right? Never been guilty of original thought, but that's good news. So she doesn't open her gob too much. These are set pieces. These are speeches written for her. They're quite anodyne. She's happy being completely superficial, completely materialistic, actuated only by being admired for her appearance. Now, Meghan Markle, she's obviously fixated with her appearances, but wearing distressed jeans in public, that was a bit of a no-no. Every sartorial choice you make as a royal is significant. It's not just about you, right? It's not individuality. You represent the United Kingdom. You represent the other Commonwealth realms, all right? So they're moaning about their privacy. You know, you get so much, but privacy is the one thing you don't get, right? That is the trade-off. For all this respect, for all these titles, for all this money, the price you pay is you don't have privacy, and they wouldn't tell us very much about the birth. They wouldn't even tell us who the godparents are, or they're completely unsuitable. You know, what if Prince Andrew was able to hide his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? The public has a right to know, actually. Now, some people say now that the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are standing down from their prominent position, they didn't have to consult his grandmother. What couple in their 30s would consult the grandmother? Well, this is no ordinary family, right? She gives you £2 million a year. She could cut that. She could give you nothing. She's not legally obliged to give it to you. You live in a house that she gave to you for free. So this is completely different. Your career is because of her. So we're not comparing like with like. Even if they want to step down from this position, they should have consulted the whole family and done it, presented a united front. Instead of this bombshell coming out, dumping the Queen in it, the ailing Queen at the age of 93 years. Her husband is almost a centenarian, is supposedly on death's door. She has more things to worry about. She really didn't need this. And the embarrassment that she's caused them, they've dragged the crown through the mire. The Queen must be so humiliated. These two are contumelious towards the Queen. They've got no respect towards the public. And the thing is, they should be grateful to us. We don't need to be grateful to them. all right? They do their public appearances. They were all right at that. And a few years ago, Prince Harry was wildly popular. He was the most adored member of the royal family. People were willing to, as I say, forgive his many gaffes because he was mischievous, he was genuine, he was approachable, he had a very good relationship with the media. He would take all these royal correspondents out to the pub and pick up the tab. And look how mean-spirited and miserly they are now. These multimillionaires, they won't pay for their own flights, they won't pay for their own hotels. You know, I'm on an average income. I pay for my own flights, I pay for my own hotels. This really is sick-making. The arrogance of them is really just staggering, and they have their partisans in the media, and that's the trouble with the Duchess of Sussex. She's been a divider and not a uniter, right? You are not a politician, right? You have to keep your mouth shut on these issues, maintain a diplomatic silence issue, and she just can't keep stum. I know she doesn't say vote this way or that way, but these are issues. Proclaiming herself to be a feminist on her website, all right? So if she'd said she was an anti-feminist, that would also been unacceptable. You have to, if you're going to endorse any issue, it's got to be one which is very uncontroversial, that almost everybody agrees with you on, like Prince William and stopping animals going extinct. Nobody wants rhinos to be wiped off the face of the planet. So they're going to skulk off to Canada, and that's that. They should be stripped of their royal titles, the way they behaved, that they haven't sorted it out. And they got this sword of Damocles hanging over the royal family. They're threatening this tell-all interview. It's outrageous, holding the royal family to blackmail. And you look at Meghan Markle's life, the way friends and relatives have been cast aside the moment they no longer serve a purpose. She's a user, just like she's exploiting Prince Harry, just as though she and Harry want to monetize their regal status. Even if they renounce their titles, people popularly know them as a prince and princess, and they'll still be able to cash in on it. It's tacky, it's tawdry, and it's nauseating. There's part of this wider malaise amongst certain people of being completely egotistical and being undutiful, as these two are. You look at Her Britannic Majesty's life, the Queen, she's been quite bland, that's a good thing, but her life has been one of duty, and she knows that tens of millions of people around the world, rightly or wrongly, they look up to her, and she strives every day to be worthy of them. You look at Kate Middleton, and I'm not a huge fan of hers, but you know, when she's asked a question by a journalist, you can see that she's transfixed with terror, petrified at the possibility of putting a foot wrong, okay, because she doesn't want to create a splash, doesn't want to cause an incident, don't do anything that would reflect any discredit upon the House of Windsor. You mustn't do things which are unworthy of the great title that you hold. Well, these two, they don't think like that. So they're going off to Canada to spend most of the year there, sometime in the United States, but they want to be half in and half out, and you can't have it both ways. So people are saying, thank God Harry is the second son. He'll never be king. He sticks in line to the throne. I wouldn't be so sure. Number one is Prince Charles, obviously 35 years older than his younger son, so he's going to die first. Number two is Prince William. 3, 4, and 5 are George, Charlotte, and Louis. But all it would take is one car crash for Harry to be king. So that's why they must be excluded from the succession. Okay, you failed to do your duties. It's a dereliction of duty. They've been incredibly remiss in their duty. And Prince Harry, you know, he was an army officer. He ought to know something about duty. You owe it to other people. They look up to you, so you mustn't fail them. This really is disgraceful. So it's like desertion in face of the enemy if he reviews the media as his enemies. Remember, he's very bitter about the death of his mother. Well, understandably, he was upset about it. But he tried to blame the media in general. Well, they weren't the ones driving the car. As a guy is 3 times over the limit, driving at double the speed limit. And Dodie for putting her in that situation. He was the one who employed the driver. And Diana herself for breaking the law by not wearing a seatbelt. Yes, it is terrible, but it's not the fault of any journalist. They didn't have to speed away from the journalists. Which is worse, having a photo taken or death? They've taken 1 million photos of her already. What difference was one more photo going to make? So there we are. He was a very troubled young man. I suppose he looked for a maternal figure, and then there was this woman a bit older than him, much more worldly wise than him, Meghan Markle, who seemed to provide that. So these two are very conceited and I think are really despicable. They're going to make money, are they? How are they going to make money? Knowing Meghan Markle will probably be opening a royal abortion clinic. So always try to promote that view. All right. Now everyone says she's entitled to her views, but she shouldn't be expressing them. I know they're not the only ones to foul up. Many of them have messed up. And people like Prince Charles used to be loathed in the 90s, but he manfully did his duty. He carried on regardless. He mustered all the courage he could, and finally his reputation improved. These two could have ridden out the storm, but oh no, they ran away. See what she's like. I mean, she's dumped her father, who was very generous to her, even into her 30s, very cruel to him, and now there's this court case going on, might be hugely embarrassing, him coming to London to testify, and we'll see what an absolute backstabber and liar she is, this meretricious fiend. And she's done that to other friends of hers, and she did that to her first husband, and she may well do that to Prince Harry. For a moment, the couple seems close as ever, but I think she's a Lady Macbeth figure. He didn't care about all these issues till he met her, and she's obviously psychologically controlling him. She wears the trousers in the relationship, and no doubt the strap-on dildo as well. So she's got Harry wrapped around her little finger. Anyway, nobody forced her to marry him. She went into this position because she craved all this media focus. She's an attention addict. And so, you know, cry me a river. You'd have to have, well, a heart of stone not to cry with laughter at her pitying herself whilst meeting all these malnourished children or terminally ill children in various African countries. The whole thing is deeply unedifying. What a spectacle. So she was just after the glitter, the jewelry, and all these titles. Anyway, a long period of silence from these two would be appreciated. They should pay back all that money that they got from the taxpayer. So that's that. I am a royalist. Whilst I still hold the titles, if I met Meghan Markle, I would call her Your Royal Highness, and I would bow, because I respect the position even when I despise the individual. So please follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and donate to me on PayPal and on Patreon. Thank you so much. Book online lessons with me and guided tours.